Hello, and welcome to our webcast on the power of a modern chromatography data system. My name is Anne-Marie McDonnell, and I am the Global Software Business Development Manager at Sion Instruments. On the agenda today, we're going to go through who Sion Instruments are, what a chromatography data system is, CompassCDS, which is Sion Instruments' chromatography data system, streamlining your laboratory software, standalone versus server configuration for your chromatography data systems, and a series of add-ons and plugins that are available in CompassCDS. We will now go through who Sion Instruments are. Sion Instruments is built on the history of Varian Instruments. In 2011, Varian decided that they no longer wanted to manufacture laboratory instrumentation. They sold their GC manufacturing business to Bruker, who then in turn in 2014 divested their GC manufacturing into a company called Sion Instruments. Sion was then acquired by the TechComp Group. Sion designs, develops, supplies and supports GC, GCMS, LC and CompassCDS product lines. The LC has been added in recent years. Sion has a US office in Maryland and all instruments are manufactured in Hoos, the Netherlands. We maintain a global infrastructure through direct sales and distributors to support Sion Instruments and legacy Varian users. Here we can see Sion's current product range. This includes the 8300 and 8500 GCs, the 8700 single quadrupole mass spectrometer, the 8900 triple quadrupole mass spectrometer, our headspace autosamplers and our LC. The 8300 GC is a compact GC that can have 2 injection ports and 2 detectors, one of which can be a mass spectrometer. Either the single quad or triple quad can be added to this instrument. Our 8500 has a slightly larger footprint, and this boasts up to 3 injectors and 3 detectors, plus a mass spectrometer, so in fact 4 detectors. Our single quadrupole mass spectrometer has an extended dynamic range to allow accurate analysis in complex matrices. It also has a lens-free ion path, which allows faster cleaning of the ion source. Our headspace autosamplers can be attached to either of our GCs. Our Versa autosampler is a static headspace autosampler that is mainly used for volatile organic compounds. This has an inert sample pathway and can reach 200 degrees centigrade. The HT3 headspace autosampler can be static or dynamic. This means that it has increased sensitivity with the dynamic autosampler. It's a 60 position autosampler, is 21 CFR parts 11 compliant, and can reach 300 degrees centigrade. Lastly, we have our LC 6000. Our LC has ultra low carryover, and we have a full range of columns available. Our LC can have multiple detectors attached, including dual wavelength detector, diode array, fluorescence and refractive index. We also have an applications laboratory within our offices in Maryland, Livingston, Scotland and Hoos, the Netherlands, in which we can develop a range of applications dependent on your requirements. On this slide, we see the evolution of Compass from its very original state as Galaxy all the way through to Compass, with our latest release being in 2022. Our latest release has ensured that our new GCs, the 8000 series GCs, have been added to the software. We also have added Agilent's ICF version 3 to the software. Now we will go through what a chromatography data system is. A chromatography data system is a dedicated set of data collection tools that integrate with chromatography equipment. It controls data from chromatography instruments, records and processes that data, and generates chromatograms and reports. CDSs are typically provided by instrument manufacturers, and many of them only provide a simple interface to required data. A base CDS will set up the desired methodology, acquire data, process that data, and store that data in a database. An advanced CDS will ensure that laboratory workflows meet regulatory guidelines. A modern chromatography data system is a complex software system that is used in many analytical laboratories. There are 3 primary ways to set up a CDS. You can have a standalone system used to control a single instrument, such as a single GC mass spec or a single GC. You can also have a standalone system that can be used to control 2 or more instruments, You can also finally have a network system that is used to control multiple systems in one or more laboratory. There are several requirements and functionalities of a modern chromatography data system. These are data acquisition, data processing, instrument control, and regulatory compliance. There are several desirable characteristics on top of the requirements for a modern CDS. So these days, people want multi-vendor, multi-instrument, multi-lab, multi-detector, and multi-language connectivity. Everybody would also like the ability to network, and they will also want operating system compatibility. So when there's an update, so for instance, we're moving to Windows 11, or rather Microsoft are moving to Windows 11. So we want to ensure that our instrumentation can also have Windows 11 PCs. We also want data security, flexibility, and archival to ensure that data is retrievable in the future. We also want other enhancements such as a link to LIMS. Now we will talk a little bit about CompassCDS, which is Sion Instruments CDS. CompassCDS is an application-rich and user-friendly CDS with an intuitive multi-language user interface. It has unreached integration engine performance and precision, allowing multiple integration parameters to be included per chromatogram. It has a comprehensive calibration, calculation, and reporting capabilities. In fact, our calibration is a separate file that can be linked to any instrument method. It also has a robust design for 24/7 operations to ensure no downtime on the instrumentation caused by the software. It has secure centralized system administration and data management to ensure that only lab managers or supervisors can access the instrumentation parameters and the user parameters. It is highly configurable and supports high redundancy. We have no limit on the number of active and inactive users within the software. This means that all past, present, and future staff can remain in the software. It is expandable in its functionality through a range of add-ons and plugins, which I will discuss further along in this webcast. We have multi-vendor GC and LC instrument control. I will go through these in further detail. We can also scale from a standalone PC to a full-scale client-server configuration. We support virtualization, whether that's Microsoft Azure or VMware, and we also have app distribution. Our software complies to 21 CFR Part 11, ISO EN 17025, and other requirements. CDS is applicable in all industries where gas and liquid chromatography are used. Some of these industries include refineries and petrochem, chemicals manufacturing, pharma and biotech, food and beverage, flavors and fragrances, environmental analysis, contract laboratories, and contract research organizations. Within these various different industries, we have a number of add-ons and plugins that are available to help you streamline your analysis. I will go through these add-ons and plugins slightly later. On the right-hand side, you can see a number of customers where we have CompassCDS. Some of these customers use CompassCDS with our instrumentation, and some of these with other manufacturers' instrumentation. CompassCDS uses only 3 graphical user interfaces inside one application window. First off, we have the data view, which is for pre- and post-run tasks. In here, you can view your methods, your chromatograms, and any post-processing required. There's also a dual view in here, which combines the data and system view. We then have a system view, which is for real-time data acquisition and monitoring of the instrument. We also have the calibration view, which is solely for calibration details. The toolbar and other items can be hidden or disabled to allow you to view your chromatogram full screen. On the screen now, you can see the Data View tab. On the left-hand side of the screen, you can see a series of injections that can be selected. These chromatograms appear on the center of the screen, and here you can see that this chromatogram has been extracted at 196 nanometers from the diode array detector. You can also see an absorbance spectra that has been extracted at 7.46 minutes to allow the lambda max to be seen at 202 nanometers. Now we have the system view on the screen. On the left-hand side, you can see a series of instruments that can be selected. Here we have a Sion 456 GC that is running. A chromatogram is being created, which is shown on the top of the screen, and underneath you can see a series of instrument parameters. You can see the linear velocity and the oven temperatures, along with the detector and injector temperatures. You can see that this is currently running. And finally, we have the calibration view. This is the calibration for uracil. On the screen, you can also see the regression coefficient and the line parameters. You can see a series of areas that are used to create the calibration and also whether or not to select it to go through 0, 0. You can see the username of the person who has created this calibration and also how many injections are completed per level. On the slide, we can see some further information on the calibration that we just observed. On here, we can see that there are several different types of calibration curve that can be selected. We can choose whether it's an external or an internal standard, the standard units, the response units, various different reference components, the calibration curve save file, the response type, and various other parameters, such as the weighting to be applied. Another feature of CompassCDS is the variable editor. This replaces Excel and eliminates operator errors. So by using the custom calculations, users can create an unlimited number of custom peak group, and global variables. These variables are then used to create complex equations which are stored in secure repositories. The equations generate results, and these are stored in each data file. This eliminates the requirement for third-party software such as Excel, and reduces operator error and improves data quality, which in turn makes auditors very happy. Within CompassCDS, you also have the ability to customize reports. The software is provided with various different template reports, such as a calibration report, a method report, or a very basic chromatogram and results table report per injection. On the screen here, you can see a custom report, which is a FAME report. FAMEs are fatty acid methyl esters, which are found in food oils. This would be a standard customized report. However, every customer requires different types of information on their report. And on these reports, you can have information such as the date that the data was acquired, the date it was processed, when it was printed, who it was printed by, who it was processed by, and the batch names for the analysis. Any piece of information that is specific to that injection can be included on a report. We will now go through some ways of streamlining your chromatography data system. So each instrument manufacturer has their own software that can be used with their instrumentation. It is also possible to use software from other vendors on your instruments. There are some pros and cons to using multi-vendor software and also single software vendor within your laboratory. So with a multi-vendor software option within your lab, you will have software from each instrument vendor on each instrument. The training is required from each vendor, which can mean that the user training can be quite complex. It can also mean that the users have to remember various different software packages, where things are, how the instruments are ran, etc. Templates will need to be created in each software, and new users will need to be added to each software package. Data backup can be quite complex when there are multi-vendors within one laboratory. By using a single software vendor, you only have one software. There is training from one vendor only, and this means there is a single software from all instrumentation, GCs and LCs. There is the ability to use a server configuration, which means that you can access the data from any PC within the laboratory that has the CDS installed and is on the network. The data, which leads to data accessibility and backup, is streamlined. The user training is simpler, and also auditing of the software package is simpler. And quite typically, the cost of maintenance agreements is less when you have a single software vendor. So with CompassCDS, it is compatible with, and we can provide support for, our own and legacy products, which include the 8300 and 8500 GCs and analyzers, the 436 and 456, which were our previous generation, our LC6000 and all of its detectors, UV-Vis, DAD, refractive index and fluorescence, the Bruker series of GCs and previous Varian GCs that ran on Compass. We also support other instrument manufacturers such as Agilent's 8890 GC and their 1260 and 1290 LCs. We can also provide support for Galaxy instrument control drivers and update those people who are still running Galaxy to CompassCDS in a very straightforward fashion. I will now go through some information on standalone configuration versus a client-server configuration for your laboratory. A standalone configuration is typically used when one or more instruments are connected to one PC. All methods and data are stored locally. Users will need to be created on each PC. Data backup is possible to a central server, however different software is required from this and also input from your IT team. We have unlimited active and inactive users on our standalone configuration, and it is also possible to have LIMS integration. On our client-server configuration, this is typically used when there are several instruments in a facility. There is one central database for data and methods. Data can be stored locally and backed up to the server at specific intervals to avoid a lot of traffic on the network. There is a central database for users, groups, projects, and report templates, meaning these don't have to be recreated locally. You can access any instrument from any PC on the network with the chromatography data system installed. There is also unlimited active and inactive users on the client-server configuration, and it's also possible to have LIMS integration on this. This slide shows a standalone configuration where two instruments are attached to one PC. However, further instruments can be attached to this PC. Next, we have a typical client-server configuration where there are multiple instruments attached to two PCs, which are then attached to a server. We then have a more complicated client-server database configuration here. We have multiple instruments attached to multiple PCs. We also have a connection to production, which is connected to a SCADA PCS system. This then feeds back to the server. We can then perform performance metrics on the data from the IT systems. And finally, we have a quick slide on multi-site rollouts. So within the client-server configuration, we can have multiple sites. The data is stored on an acquisition server locally and is then fed back to a main server. This can be done using web applications. I will now talk through some add-ons and plugins that are available for CompassCDS. So many CDS vendors have a series of add-ons and plugins that are available to aid in sample creation, processing, and reporting. They're typically available as optional extras and may be specific to each industry. For example, Eclipse is used in the petrochem industry and ChromSync is used in the fragrances industry. These add-ons and plugins allow streamlining of workflows, and they are available for both standalone and client-server configurations. So CompassCDS has the following add-ons: Sample Streamer, Eclipse, and ChromSync, and it also has the following plugins: One Button Interface, Column and Solvent Database, and Print Manager. So within our add-ons, we have Sample Streamer. This is an add-on that allows you to connect to your LIMS. You can create a multi-instrument sequence, and it also has bidirectional SAP LIMS interface via XML or CSV. It can be added to a standalone or client-server architecture. It supports 21 CFR Part 11, and it is also customizable and configurable. We then have Eclipse. This is used typically within the gas analysis industry. It's used for extended SIM DHA and gas analysis calculation and reporting. And it is used for multiple ASTM and GPA methods. Within Eclipse, you also have customized reporting. And on the right-hand side of the screen, what you can see here as an example of Eclipse. This shows a typical gas profile. Next, we have ChromSync. This is a special tool for the flavour and fragrances and beverages industry. The way that ChromSync works is that you have a reference chromatogram and a sample chromatogram. The tool will compare the sample chromatogram to the reference chromatogram and will check for the degree of similarity. It will instantly confirm product batch-to-batch reproducibility, and it automates a previously manual process, thereby increasing lab accuracy and productivity. Here you can see how ChromSync works. It takes the retention time and peak area of the sample chromatogram and compares it to the reference chromatogram. It will then show you what is identical, out of tolerance, reference only, and what has been found in the sample only, and will give you a degree of similarity. And this is shown by the various different colours on the screen. We also have a series of plugins. The one-button interface is typically used by plant operators as it simplifies analysis. It is fully customizable and fully automated. So what you can see here on the screen is a number of methods that have been created within the main Compass software. These are then added into the one-button interface, and this is all that the users that have been given one-button access are allowed to do. The user input variables can be added, and there is also an admin portal for method creation and access control. We then have the column and solvent database. This manages the columns and solvents used during your analysis and is fully customizable. There is an audit trail that provides a list of all the modifications in the columns and solvents properties, and all of this is printable. So on the right hand side of the screen, you can see that you can alter the column name, the description, the manufacturer, the serial number, and various different other column parameters. And finally, we have the Print Manager. This is a post-processing application, which combines printing and exporting of the chromatogram as a PDF. It's quite a powerful tool that allows you to set different printers, report styles, and output paths for the different report styles. So you can select various different people who the reports can be sent to, and also various different output paths where it can be saved, such as on the server, on a local PC, and also it can be printed to hard copy. If you'd like to contact Sion Instruments about anything you have heard today, please contact us on the various different email addresses below. You can also contact us through our website, which is sioninstruments.com. Thank you very much.